In this connection, I want to stress once more the special military operation in the Ukraine and Donbass, which started in February. All the objectives will be definitely carried out to guarantee the security of people in the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic, the Russian Crimea, and all our country. We must understand that our soldiers and officers have prevented a real threat which was hanging over our motherland. With their courage, resoluteness, and heroism, they prevented a large-scale conflict which would spread on our territory according to other people's scenario. The forces which have historically contained Russia, in olden times, too, you know this very well, such an independent. Why did they do that? Because such an independent, huge country, they don't need such a country. They think that just by existing, it presents a threat to them, even though it's not true. They present a threat to the whole world themselves. We remember the plans of the fascists against the Soviet Union to make people who can work, force those people work to be slaves, and those who couldn't work should go to Siberia and die there. That was a historical document. We remember this document. We also remember how Western states at the beginning of the 1990s and 2000s encouraged international terrorists and bandits in North Caucasus, how they speculated on the problems of our past. And of course, those were problems and injustices in relation to whole nations, whole peoples in the Caucasus, for example. But they didn't do that to improve us, not at all. They did that so that they could move the problems of the past into our today's life, to encourage separatist moods in our country, and finally to split it and to destroy it. That's why they did that. And finally to push us into a corner, into a bear's corner. In the past, many tried to do this against Russia. But they haven't reached their objective, but they didn't reconcile with this failure. They didn't reconcile with the fact that despite their onslaught, we held out. That's why later they began to prepare an economic war against Russia. Step by step, they used any excuses, and sometimes even without any excuses, they implemented new sanction restrictions. And even today's plans to strengthen us economically have failed. In this connection, our country's enemies forced the creation of new geopolitical weapons. They are not really new, but they created a new impulse. They reckoned that Russophobia would do this. For years, they turned Ukraine, our neighboring Ukraine, into anti-Russia. Let's remind you that Russia was also always sympathetic and acted as a friend and as a comrade, as a brother. It viewed the creation of the independent Ukrainian state. At the time, we expected that this would be a friendly country, that we would develop together and strengthen each other and create the best conditions for our competition and development. And of course, we didn't expect that they would create anti-Russia on that territory. We cannot allow this. And of course, in the end, they caused and pushed Ukraine to have a direct confrontation in our country, like the military attacks on Donbass and Crimea were in their doctrines, and the Ukrainian people were meant as consumables. And many Ukrainian people are now realizing this, such as the Kiev's regime, its desire to have nuclear weapons and the creation of biological labs and the supply of latest weapons to Ukraine. All that confirms that our reaction to all that was timely and correct. Esteemed colleagues, I want to stress once more, our soldiers and officers and the militia of Donbass are carrying out their missions heroically. All the objectives that have been set will be carried out.